library, history, English, all of these were important. And when he was a junior, debate came well as college. Dr. Baird became debater. So graduated with a 5A Kappa P, and then he went to Performing Seminary in Chicago, and on to Julian Theology Seminary at that point in New York. And on the side, he would take classes over at Columbia in English and literature, so he picked up a master's somewhere along the line there too. It's true, he was not married till he was 40. Frankly, I don't think he had time to go out and meet anybody that wasn't on a campus or in a class, but he could ask Barbara about that. He's here tonight and for this weekend. He taught at several colleges, and he always did it well. And then he went to Bates College in Woodford, and that was a special experience. Bates was one of the best colleges for debate, and then in the same year he formed the Maine Association of High School Debaters, so they've been in some other places, and he went to Dartmouth as well. And in all of that process, he was thinking about debate and promoting it. It wasn't just for people on the campus, but what a good idea it would be to debate internationally or with other campuses. And after this weekend, you're going to be good in your life. Think about it, maybe even when you're my age. Well, this happened to be one of the debaters that Dr. Baird had when we speak about the PC Navy, who came here after that time and was head of the speech and drama department. And was here and developed things that were important, like theater. The school had the first revolving stage, so you could set 3 acts and put them up. That lasted for about 10 years, and then I think the machinery was worn down, because I do not remember any plays after that time. I became a debater in high school. It was in Burlington High School. It was something that women and men students could do, and we had a coach very like Dr. Baird. It was T. Doyle Stonehopper. He had a plan for not only the high school, but he taught also in the college, and he had a recruitment system that really worked. I had his teacher, his wife, who was Elsie Stonehopper, as my teacher of English in junior high. And I was signed up for debate before I ever set 1 foot inside the high school building. And Stoney was the kind of coach that mixed sophomores and juniors and seniors. The reason for that was the older students could teach the younger students, and it worked beautifully. We also had a class that had the last time available on every single day, and at the end of the class, unlike Dr. Baird, who would have us go down to the library, Mr. Stonehopper would tell the other students, take the sophomores on down to the library and they can lecture, or 3 by 5 with their minutes on. No self-respecting debater in any high school was our child ever would debate without a nice file case and a full file case of 3 by 5 cards. And we did not necessarily share our own knowledge with other people. In fact, I do remember once coming up on the stage and our best debater, I was he was a senior, came away with problems. And so we went into the law on it. This is a big honest. But we bought a file and we built it blank cards while his parents put his real file on the bus. Fortunately, they all got here before we had to win any debates. That was a good thing, even though that particular debate could have real thought, sincere, something that you would all believe. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. It's just well, I also out in school or on Monday morning, I was sensible to now at work, and we would continue everything we had done before. We would debate. And we also had little gardens. We did beach as well. And within a few months, some of the senior boys were drafted or listening, and then all quickly my teachers. And details was all bad in ourselves here. Very sad. I'll give you one the comments as well. He was a psychology person. He was somebody else in the military, but he also got to sense all of the and all about, I'll tell you, female, my first female extended our country, and my sisters had worked out all those forms of we would get these little a lot of black lines. But Stoning kept writing to our debaters, and his came through absolutely no black lines. We could read every word. The school hired him. And I often wondered during those last 2 years that how many knew that he was really coaching young debaters who had coaches, went out there writing emails. It was very important to us. And another one, trying hard, we thought much could be done. But we went to the high school tournament. And again, Dr. Beard was responsible for the Iowa high school, and he came on board, speaking much, his small, but every single time that I made a debate team, when you came here, you met Dr. Beard. You also met New Hampshire, who was the president of the university, who also had been a Rhodes Scholar on Roy Gordon for his return as president, and he was a supporter of the debate at that time. And then you have the classes. One of the very first things you remember about all of that, I think, is that Dr. Beard had his own way of doing things. The one thing he had a mimeograph machine. He was the only person on the entire campus who could still run it. And you could tell that he was his hands were all sort of a purpley red. And he would reel off things for us to read in the forums and in the classes. He also typed, but not so well. Fortunately, he had secretaries. But always we had these wonderful experiences in the debate forum. And anybody in the speech department could sign up and be a part of that. It was every Monday night. We had practice debates. If Dr. Beard liked something a lot, he would rub his hands together and say, "Here, here." And that scared a lot of people at first, but we got used to that, and you'd like to hear that. And at the end of that, almost always, at a new class, and certainly every new semester, he would tell us and everybody else in the room that debate required integrity. First, you have to have integrity. Second, we expect you to have social integrity and outlook. Thirdly, your personality reflects moral interests, and you are on the side of truth. And often he will say that debaters are on the side of truth. I hope that's good. You feel better about it, but it's something you should be fair about. Dr. Bird loved education. He also dearly loved debate. And at the end of those sessions, almost always he would say, "Now, you will go down the hill into the library and you will gain wisdom." That is something that stayed, I think, with all of us. Years of being on the campus with some men, although they were in uniform and marching from the fraternities, which were their housing, or they were over in the Navy pre-flight group, and they tended to come and go fast. And the only thing I ever saw unfair between women and men at this university happened to be hours. Women were in dormitories or any university housing had to be in at 10:30, 12:30 at night. Only the pre-flight did less well than we did. They had to be in at 9:15 every night, except for their graduation parties. And the men were able to float about. But looking back, I think we also had some advantages there. We could go back and study, we could work on faith, and we were probably protected. By the time we were seniors, we also protested all of that, and the University Women's Association allowed women who were eligible for graduation to have whatever hours they liked. The only problem was it had to be policed by either the house mother or someone else, and it was on your honor. And we devised systems where all of the girls who were seniors and going to be out signed out, and then everyone would go out. First one in waited for the next one. The next one waited for number 3 to come in. I really don't know if all of the women came in before whatever hour was supposed to be appropriate for women. But beyond that, men and women were equal. You could do anything a man could do. You probably couldn't do it in the same way. But you could be a debater. You could go to medical school. I had friends who did that. That was probably tougher. The debate reunions we have had have been especially interesting, and they turned up facts that I'm not sure we were really aware of in a very early time. People would stand up and give their memories of Dr. Baird. The ones who were not here would write to us. I remember one which was absolutely delightful. It was the kind of thing you look at a group out in the room and you'd say, everybody who is from the west side of the Mississippi, put their hand up. And you have hands waving. I think that would work here. Hands up, you're west of the Mississippi. What? Oh, we have debaters on the coast. That's very good. On what? People who were on the debate team that went to a tournament. There were a lot of votes. And there were many other categories, and we really had good participation from the debaters and their spouses who were there perhaps not so interested. But the question that was the most fun of all was, how many of you have a son named Craig? And more than 24 people raised their hand. I'm here to tell you that I too have a son named Craig. And he actually seemed to like the fact that people named their children after him. But I'm not absolutely sure, though I've saved all his typewritten letters, and his typewriting was not wonderful if everybody wants to see it. But I did save it. And when my son was 6 years old, my husband and I came down for a football game. I'm not sure why. I think we lost at 81-0 to Ohio State. But for fun, we went to see Dr. and Mrs. Berry. And my son had done a picture for me, sent it to him. And about next month, Craig got a letter from Dr. Berry. Kind of fun, and they still have it. And I won't read all of it. I enjoyed more than you might know, the red house and the green trees and the many bright flowers. They look like the daffodils and tulips that sometimes are about our house, and the other beautiful blossoms that you have names. You also hear a splendid clown. He appears to be very happy, and he seems to be saying something funny. And he goes on and says, I hope you will come to see me. I'm sending a picture, so you will know me if we meet. And Craig was very proud of this letter that he got from Dr. Berry. But I found the one that came to us too, and that was interesting. My ambition is to greet Craig, Dr. Berry. I'd like for him to know that I am more than merely a name. It has been attached to him. I would like for him to know that not so long ago, I too grew houses and people and animals and kicked the October leaves and read books and collected many bottles for my future doctor's office, because I was named for a great man, Mr. Albert G. Craig, Dr. Albert G. Craig of DeVille, Indiana. Now there was a man who's human, and my son still cherishes so much of that. Well, I have no advice really for you for this week. I know you're all going to be of great integrity. You are going to fight the good fight. You're going to represent your universities. You hope that you're going to carry home what appears to be some very large things to get on an airplane, but let's not worry about that. You earned it. The best advice I really can give you came from a very nice debater of my era named Felix Zipper. He could not be at this particular reunion, but this is what he said, and I think there's probably wisdom in here for you. This recollection is about the time when Bruce Hughes and I were leaving Iowa City for a debate tournament at West Point, and Dr. Berry took us to the railroad station. The question for debate involved universal military training. I was against it, while Bruce was for it. And as we boarded, Dr. Berry gave us our last instructions. When you're on the affirmative side of it, be for it. On the negative side, be against it. And Leo further commented, I'm happy to report that Bruce and I declared the truths and agreed to follow Dr. Berry's instructions. And I hope you will too.
I also find glasses helpful. So you don't have to be ABA to use devices. We've come to the time tonight, tradition that we've been doing for quite a while, to take a moment to remember the members of our community that we said goodbye to last year. I'm still hopeful that we're going to have a year where there will be none. Unfortunately, this was not that year. In August, we lost Matt Kennedy. Matt was a student at Cal State University Fullerton, and he debated hybrid with several different people from several different schools, which allowed many coaches to claim him as their own, and many debaters to claim him as their partner. One of his partners that he created a semester with, Andy Liu, described his partnership in this way. He wore Louis Vuitton bags, I wore t-shirts ripped out on the street. He was short, I was tall. He was white and from Georgia, I'm Taiwanese and from Seattle. He was gay, I acted, in his words, really straight. We never lingered on those differences, though, because we recognized in each other a shared, almost desperate passion for philosophy and social theory, and maybe the best thing that you can say about debate is that it can bring people together through intellectual commonalities in spite of superficial dissimilarity. Marty Osborne commented that he was such an energetic person and a really punishing wit. He really took me apart every time we debated. One of the people who claimed him as a coach, Michael Hester, wrote, "It's impossible for me to remember Matt with anything other than that goofy grin and twinkle in his eye he would give when he was discussing the latest twisted argument that was rolling around in his genius mind. And honoring that memory means thinking of something, anything positive to say. And what Matt's debate life epitomizes for me is that this activity has been, and hopefully always will be, a home for the freaks." Matt was 31. In October, we lost a very, very dear friend of mine, Dave Matheny. Dave was the long-term coach at Emporia State University, and Dave had two daughters, Melissa and Melanie Matheny, who also were involved in coaching college debate for a while. He was the coach of my coach's coach. And so at the very first tournament, when I met him, he came up to me and introduced himself to me as my great-grandfather. But he said I could just call him Pops. And so Joel and I called him Pops. He was a major, major figure in my life as a college debater, and he was a great friend, especially to Joel and to me. He could make us laugh like no one else could. Joel wrote about him, or described him as a remarkably playful soul who cantankerously banter for hours on end. We traveled with them a lot, so we did like those long van rides to the coast where you start to get sick of everybody, and those of you that have done the long van rides know this. Dave had served in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, but he was stationed in the Panama Canal Zone. And he had a lot of really hilarious stories to tell about his time in the Panama Canal Zone that made those trips just fly by. He was a great, great friend. Dave was 82. In December, we said goodbye to Skip Stovall. Skip had coached at Southern Missouri State University from 1965 to 1983. Irma reports that Skip attended every single Missouri State University debate reunion, and that he showed up several times during the work week to meet with the current debaters and talk to the current debaters about their arguments. He also would entertain them for hours on end with travel stories. Skip was 70. We had very, very tragic news on New Year's Day of the loss of Aaron Thomas, KCKCC debate alum who had recently begun coaching, as he was killed in a tragic car accident on New Year's Day. Tony Nielsen wrote of Aaron that he was a good man and the world was a bit harder without him in it. He was gentle in spirit and sharp in wit. I'm grateful to have crossed paths with him. Rashid Campbell wrote that he was one of Kansas City's finest. You always said that you were proud of me, but I'm truly proud of you. Your short time on this earth has had such an impact on so many people. You are one of the main reasons that I ever got involved in debate to begin with. Aaron was very involved with Debate Kansas City and a big, strong supporter of the UDL movement, and he left us way too young at the age of 24. In February, we said goodbye to Jack Kay. Jack graduated from Wayne State University and coached the debate team as a graduate student before moving to the University of Nebraska, where he served as the director of debate. Our tournament director, John Fritsch, debated for Jack. In 1990, he returned to Wayne State. The provost from Wayne State wrote that this is a significant loss to our community. Jack was the quintessential Wayne State teacher scholar. He came from a modest background and works tirelessly to overcome barriers, prejudices, and injustice so that others might benefit from higher education. John Fritsch said that he will be forever grateful to Jack for giving me, the kid from Palmyra who never had seen a debate, the chance to debate in college, the patience to let me develop as a debater, and the guidance to help me grow as a person. Without him, I'm certain my life would have ended up much, much differently. Largely because of Jack, I've never lost my desire to work with forensics. I can see the difference in facing people's lives and how making this difference can be done while still having a lot of fun. Scott Harris added, I am heartbroken. Jack was my first college coach, as he was the TA assigned to deal with me, and he had a huge impact on my life. Jack was 63. The Sunday before our District 8 Cedar Regional Tournament, our district suffered the loss of saying goodbye to Neil Birch. Neil coached at West Virginia State for many years and was a very large presence in District 7 and District 8. Christy Webster Dunn wrote that Neil fought a valiant battle for almost a decade, and I was in constant awe of his tenacity and resourcefulness. He was a uniter, a mediator, a right fighter, and an all-around brilliant man. She spoke with him the days before he passed away, and all he wanted to talk about was the district judging and how difficult it would be to pair the dreaded round 6. He simply loved Dave that much. Kevin Kuzma wrote, what a pillar of the community. Neil Birch was always one of the most supportive and caring people in debate. His efforts on behalf of novice debate and new programs were always personal, immense, and effective. His students always shared his contagious love for debate, and he found ways to bring the spirit and energy with his teams and as a host. This is an unbelievable loss. Neil will be incredibly missed. Finally, the local news station, where Neil was a political consultant, reported on his death and said this, Neil was an incredible man. He had that rare mix of extreme intelligence, passion, and heart. That mix that all too often we strive for, but fail to achieve. Neil did, and we are forever grateful that he was nice enough to share that with us each and every week for the past 4 years. Neil was 55. It's always difficult to transition out of this onto something else. I do think that it's good that we take that time to remember those people, but it's also good for us to remember and recognize that people in our activity who are still with us and still contributing, and so we will now transition to that part of the program. And so the next is Chris Lumber.
Hey, babe. Doing the case. The tough part about remembrances is that they come after the fact. And in that spirit, I want you to think about the experience of being at the NDT and think about how many things will go unsaid as you look around at the folks around you. Hopped up on any energy drinks and caught up in the intensity of it. One of the most difficult things is to stop and be a bit reflective about just how we tell it, what's going on here, and how incredible it is that you are, at least most of them. In that spirit, I've been tasked with by the board with the honor, and it's a little bit of a bittersweet one, of taking some time tonight to say a few words about Ken Strange on the eve of his retirement. Tough conditions off the top. 1, 90s Dartmouth didn't go so good for me, so this is a little bitter. 2, as a judge, I basically remember Ken smoking and shouting at me things like, you can't win the plan. So I thought about calling Ken Strange smoking, shouting, and writing to you, but the board vetoed that. And 3, placing a tribute to Ken right after remembrances is purely accidental. Ken doesn't need a fancy speech to demonstrate his excellence as a coach. After a stint at Augustana, he showed up at Dartmouth in 1981 and was, by the end of his first decade in coaching, named the Coach of the Decade. That's saying something. I'm the guy who called 10 years. And that kind of excellence continued throughout his storied career, including a Amazing accomplishments like coaching 8 teams to the finals, winning 3 NDT championships, having 5 Oakland winners, 3 to see the Nationals finalists, and here's the crazy one, almost 30 straight years of direct endorsement to a first-round bid, winning just 1 million. Unbelievable.
All right, got to cover.
Those accomplishments, though, were not the only, or maybe even the most important measure of coaching. Every one of these debaters that I talked to said something like, Ken was an amazing model of how you can hold together intensity and passion for the activity with a compassion for your students and for the community more largely. And that Ken can do it in his inimitable way is a testament to his status as a force of nature in debate. One of his former students said that Ken was the best measure of Ken's care for his students was his incredible attention to detail and the passion with which he dealt with details at every level, from coaching people on arguments, to judging, to educating students after debates, to running debate camp, and that care extended to the community as a whole, and most importantly, a fundamental concern for the success of the community as a whole. He's taught others, and many pointed out not only his brilliance as a strategist, but his ability to inspire students to work relentlessly, to get better, to not only be brilliant, but to be the kind of people who throw themselves into their activity with a reckless abandon. And throughout his career, he demonstrated exactly this kind of passion for his students and the community as a whole. Ken is an incredible guy, always supportive, always willing to go the extra mile for a student. And because of all that, we honor him. We don't just honor Ken for the sake of Ken, but we honor him for what he shows us that a coach can do. And so in honoring him, we honor all the coaches who make sacrifices. But more importantly, we honor Ken tonight because we will miss him, and the community will not be the same without him. Ken, enjoy greener pastures. We will miss you.
I think we'd all agree that the last year, 20 weeks, but for the 5th time, I am about to transition our program into the awards portion of our meeting. As you may know, during the Thursday night reception, traditionally we give out 2 awards that recognize both excellence in coaching and academic achievement in the area of argumentation and debate and service to the national debate team. I have the honor tonight to present the George Ziegmuller Award. If you are a new debater or a person who has not had the opportunity to meet Professor Ziegmuller, then you are definitely missing out. Professor Ziegmuller's achievements at Wayne State University expand beyond just his academic knowledge, his contributions to the field, things that he did, but he was somebody who contributed greatly to the spirit of debate. His students, the students that he mentored, his graduate students and coaches, are all in this room around you. I guarantee if you look 6 people around, not playing the type of debating game, but you will find someone who knows Professor Ziegmuller, who learned from him and learned about what it meant to be a coach and what it meant to contribute to debate. And that's why the Ziegmuller Award is given to someone who is not only a coach of an established program, but has shown a commitment to academic achievement in the field, to someone who has inspired a love and learning about argumentation, and someone who is committed to doing that at the same time as advancing the prosperity, integrity, and success of their debate program. This year, I have the honor of presenting that award to someone who has done both, and certainly someone who deserves recognition because they have stepped into some incredible shoes, and that can be difficult to fill. This person has not only contributed by presenting and publishing research about the value, controversies, and experience of the National Debate Tournament dealing with open source evidence, the experience of the National Debate Tournament in developing digital initiatives, but also the importance for all of us in our community of understanding what it means to not only be debaters, but to be people who are healthy and contribute to being role models for the young people that we serve as people who are coaches, judges, mentors, etc. His research about Senator Jefferson Davis has been published in the Southern Communication Journal. He served on editorial boards for argumentation publications such as the Alta Argumentation Conference, which many of you will be at this summer. He is the assistant professor and director of debate at Wake Forest University, and I could not be more proud than tonight to present the George Sigmuller Award for Excellence in Coaching and Academic Achievement in our field to Jared Atchison from Wake Forest University. Pleasure of introducing our newest member of the National Debate Tournament Board of Trustees, who will present the Lucy Kiel Award for Service. This is Josh Sy.
So I'm here tonight to present the Lucy Kiel Award for Distinguished Service, and this is a weird year. It's an unusual recipient of the award because in this case, we're also saying goodbye to an established member of this community whose service is extended at the NDT as a coach and director for nearly 3 decades. So the Lucy Kiel Award for Distinguished Service is going to John Fritsch, the tournament director of the NDT, and for the last 11 years, he's been your director and has been tremendously committed to running this tournament in the way that he thought was the most fair, was efficient, and in a way that never required him to be rude or mean to anyone. And so, it's largely true. But for most of the people here, you really only know him in that capacity as a kind of strange man slowly reading pairings while you would rather be off prepping for a round. But the truth is that the John Fritsch origin story is so weird that it cannot be captured in anything approaching truth. It is a cornerstone, like rags to riches story that makes him one of the more unusual characters that we've gotten to see be really successful in debate. John is from a ridiculously small town in Nebraska named Palmyra. There's like 15 people. Every story involves a keg and his brother playing for the Peru State Bobcats. John showed up in Lincoln, Nebraska with virtually no background in debate, no policy debate background. He's never been capable of speaking any faster than he speaks right now. And a vocabulary of like 150 words. And by the time he ended his career at the University of Nebraska, he was in semifinals of the NDT, which is a stunning achievement for someone of his capacities. John then, with that success, was lured to the bright lights of metropolitan civilization and took an amazing tour through, never selling out, as he toured through Lawrence, Kansas, and Springfield, Missouri, and Cedar Falls, Iowa. He's always remained true to who he is, like a strange dude from Palmyra. And what this has meant is that as a coach, he's been a really tremendous friend and mentor to hundreds of debaters. He helped the University of Kansas transition through a remarkably difficult time in its history, losing one of our debaters. There have been 3 directors in the last 50 years at the University of Kansas. John Fritsch was an assistant for all of them. So he had, he is a lot, he is what you get when you have to deal with Carson, Rowland, and Harris, which are, so he's broken inside, and throughout his course in Missouri and in Iowa, I think his service has extended in ways that very few people experience. 28 years of coaching at this tournament, 11 years as directing it, and as he goes on to stranger things with different audiences, I think we're all going to miss him tremendously. I know I will, and I think the country is littered with people who can call John Holt a friend and a mentor. So the Keel Award for Distinguished Service in the Field of Excellence goes to Dr. John Fritsch. And now, where are you, Dallas? Dallas Burgos.
Thank you, John, for that very enthusiastic introduction. When Dr. Fritsch told me that this was his last NDT, I was quite distressed. I wasn't part of the process by which he picked. I've never been through this, and so I didn't really know what we were supposed to do. I looked at the charter and it said that I was supposed to nominate the next director of the NDT, and that the NDT committee would give to approve that person or not. And I didn't really know what to do. Sherry and I talked about it for a couple of days. I talked to a couple of other close friends and decided to pick somebody. The primary criteria were that I wanted to pick somebody who I'd known a long time, was familiar with, whose judgment and integrity I trusted completely. And I was hopeful that I could finally, after all these many years, find somebody who wouldn't rig the tournament so the Northwestern won nearly every year. I managed to do that with the enthusiastic support of the National Lake Tournament Committee. We have named the next director of the National Lake Tournament, and that person is Sarah Parklover-Fay. Now back to Angelita.
It's also very strategic of this decision, because I have to say that I'm delighted to have the opportunity to continue with Sarah for the next little while. My job now is to provide you with some post announcements that relate to the tournament prior to moving on to our announcement of the final awards. Actually, I'm going to ask John Fritsch if he has any tournament announcements, and if so, please step forward to the front area so I can turn it over to you in just a moment. Excellent. A couple of things that you need to know before tomorrow's debates. First, all of the debates tomorrow take place here in this hotel or in the Homewood Suites that's just up the hill. Breakfast tomorrow morning will begin at 7 a.m. and it will be in the exhibit hall, which is a room that you have not been in yet. It is right by where you had your team pictures taken, maybe. Walk 1 mile that way. Trust me, I had on the wrong shoes yesterday. I know. All right? Walk 1 mile all the way to the end. Wait until you see the exhibit hall and then tell me that this was not the coolest place ever to host an NDT. That's all I have to say. All right, tomorrow, 7 a.m., breakfast. 8 a.m., tournament announcements. 7 a.m. breakfast, 8 a.m. tournament announcement of round 1. If you are debating tomorrow in the Homewood Suites and you need some kind of transportation for whatever reason, we will have an Iowa van that will be able to take you the 1 mile uphill. I encourage you to walk if you can, only if you are able, because it is valuable and it will encourage all of us to be healthy. You should have access in this building and in the home and suites. If you have any problems, you can email me at nationaldebatetournament@gmail.com. I will do my best to try and facilitate your access. That sounded wrong. If you have not yet had your team photograph taken, tomorrow we will complete the team photograph in the big room, which is the exhibit hall. Please see me or Chris Skiles, who's part of the Iowa Debate alumni crew. You will be able to find us in the exhibit room. If you still have money that you owe, pay it to me, preferably tomorrow. That would make me happy. If there is anything else that you need while you are in the tournament, you know where to find me. I would be happy to help. And I just want to thank you for taking the opportunity and the time to be here for the National Debate Tournament. Let me turn over the mic to, for the almost last time, to our director of the tournament, John Fritsch, for tournament announcements.
Couple things before you know. Thank you, Josh, for this kind words. And one of Josh's early coaches, one of the highlights of my coaching, I found out his name is Josh C-Zai, because I always reminded him the C stands for 2.0. That was a good series. I did want to say one other thing real quick. I'm sure you know that Mile, and actually Mile Bay partners here too. Brad is from lives in Lincoln, was working in Des Moines this week, so came to see the National Debate Tournament for the first time since 1997. If I could, two really quick stories about my own debate coach. The first one was the first time I met him. I was a senior in high school. And my school did not have a debate team, so I was on the speech team. We went to 3 tournaments a year. We were at the district tournament. I was doing duet acting, and Jack Kay was the judge. And when we were done, I called my partner and I up. And we were standing there. He looks at my partner and goes, "You should be on the speech team in Nebraska." And that was how I was. It was a judging thing. But the other thing I remember is after Brad and I were sophomores, he brought us into his office one day and said, "I think you guys can win the finals, but the semifinals in the national debate." And that was the year we won the 08 to Iowa State, University of Iowa. And what that was crazy. But he worked really hard for us, and we did get to the semifinals. Really struck me, still strikes me today how powerful the approaches can be. So when you're going through this weekend, take a little bit of time to thank them. And coaches also think about the impact of their step. I think back to being my old coach, students that I had. One of the conversations I remember about today was when I was a sophomore, I was convinced that I had a winning argument. The winning argument dealt with the fact that there was a farm crisis in the United States, and the farmers were becoming radicalized, and they were going to overthrow the government. He kept telling me that was silly, that was silly. And then one thing comes back and says to me, "You've got an argument." And I said, "What convinced you?" He said, "I went to a farm auction." They're passing out this literature. And Dr. Kay became one of the leading experts in the country on extreme speech, extreme rhetoric. I'm still studying the issue. So for almost 30 years, he was one of the leading experts on studying racism and ethnic states. And that still is largely because of the interactions we had in the struggle. So coaches think the impact that the students have on them as well. We're trying to take some time to enjoy this weekend. It's a stressful All right, a couple of announcements. First of all, as we already know, parents will be read sharply at 8 a.m. and then parents will be read at 8 a.m. Second, the rules remind me that I have to remind you there's to be no smoking or drinking in competition rooms. The third thing is last year we had some challenges. The judges did not make it to their dates. In November, the National Debate Tournament Committee passed a rule. The ramifications of the rule are that do not show up for a debate which you can sign. The maximum penalty is up to a $500 fine and disqualification of the team. The reason we do this, the reason the committee moved in this direction, is a bunch of reasons. The primary reason is the people who are here working to make this tournament a success. This is chief highlight of your season. We want the tournament to be smooth. We want you to have the judges who requested, and we want the judges to take that response. The final thing I have to note is that we are missing 2 conflict sheets. We want the judges to sign these. If you're affiliated with these people, please let us know. We'll help them to get their conflict sheets signed. The first one is Judge Andreas from the University of Texas, Dallas, and George Wheaton from Cal Berkeley. So if you know when those have to sign, we're not going to put each of those judges in rounds until we have those signed, so we're certain of the stuff. All right? There's something else there. All right. So 8 a.m. will be preparing. Go ahead.
All right, now as we get the bid awards, these teams are obvious. These are fun awards. I was happy I got to give this a first-year board member because these obviously recognize a level of performance over an entire season. That as much as we love this tournament, should never go well for much. Everyone here has put it over the course of the season, so it's a lot of fun to recognize these folks, which are the top 5 first round at large recipients. Obviously, starting from the 5th and working our way up. With the fifth first round from Emory University, Vivek Karthikeyan and receiving the 4th first round from Harvard, Anna Dimitrovic and David Herman. Receiving the 3rd first round, also from Harvard, Bradley Ullman and Michael Suo. Receiving the 2nd first round from Michigan, Ellis Allen and Alex Pappas. And receiving the Copeland Award for the top first round at-large bid to the National Debate Tournament from Northwestern, Alex Miles and Arjun Veliakan.
Award-winning team. Receiving tonight's Unger Award, Stephen Fitzmyer from Northwestern University. To all of you tonight, thank you so much for joining us in our dessert reception. Please take snacks, treats, enjoy your sweets on the way out. And I will say, in the words of the Hawkeyes, go fight win. Have a great NDT.